Okay, this is Structural Advisory Committee review meetings, and we're starting the meeting. And this meeting is being recorded. So this is August 24th, slightly, well, it's a few minutes after 2 p.m. Says we have public meetings through the electronic platform. So pursuant to San Francisco Building Code Section 105.6 and 106.4.1.3, second here. Okay. A Structural Advisory Committee SAC was formed to provide independent expert review and make recommendations to the Director of Building Inspection on proposed building construction permit applications on sites which are proposed to have a new single-family dwelling construction at 129 Edgehill Way under permit application 2019-02011902S. That's a site permit. And by undergoing heightened design review, being within the Edgehill Mountain Slope Protection Area per San Francisco Building Code. The SAC is meeting today via public meeting in the remote electronic platform. And that is web links to join the meeting as such shown on an announcement that has been sent out and post ups in our website. And also it's in a public library. And so first of all, we have to start the meetings. We have members and we're going to go on to start the meeting with the background information here. Per San Francisco Building Code Section 106.8.4.1.2, as the circuit power lies within the Edgehill Mountain Slope Protection Area, heightened design, heightened review. I'm sorry. With mandatory submittal and review of reports will be required thereto by the establishment of the Structural Advisory Committee is defined by the Building Code Section 105.8.6 for all permit applications submitted to this Department Building Inspection with the purpose as identified in Building Code Section 106.8.4.1.2.2. Because landside earth movement, ground shaking, and subsidence are likely to occur on or near the Edgehill Mountain Slope Protection Area, causing severe damage and destruction of public and private improvements. The Board of Supervisors finds that the public health, safety, and welfare is best protected if the building official for the building inspection causes permit application within the Edgehill Mountain Protection Area for either one, construction of a new building or structure, or two, alteration that involve substantial increase in envelopes of an existing building structure to be pre-reviewed for structural integrity and effect on hillside stability. The building construction permit applications of proposing constructions of new buildings or structures along a very steep slope along the hillside and subject to requirements of review by the Structural Advisory Committee. The Structural Advisory Committee is convening to review and provide expert professional opinions concerning items as stipulated in Section 105.8.6.3 and 106.8.4.1.2 attached here too in the announcement. So the subject permit applications under the jurisdictions of the 2016 edition of San Francisco Building Code, being the version prevailing at the time of permit application with governing language original legislated by Ordinance 257-08 effective December 8, 2008. Okay, the Structural Advisory Committee will take public comments on all items appearing on the agenda at the time the item is considered by the SAC. For general public comments, agenda item number 3, the public may address the SAC on any issues which are in general subject matters under jurisdiction of the SAC other than the calendared item. Each member of public has up to 2 minutes to comment on an item. As this SAC reviews involve complex technical, geotechnical, geological, and structural issues and considerations to facilitate an efficient progress in the review item, agenda item 4 to 7 may take place in interlaced questions for various areas of review concerns as appropriate determined by the call of the chairperson. So let's move on with this one is agenda. We got to do the roll call. So Frank L. Rollo, Lieutenant Engineer. John Wallace, Certified Engineering Geologist.
I'm here.
Okay. John Holmes, Structural Engineer. John?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're here, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Harvey Hacker, Architect.
Here.
Okay, so the next item is the SAC to select chairperson to conduct this SAC review meeting. Any motion?
I nominate Frank Rollo.
Okay, any second?
I'll second.
Okay, and let's take a vote. John
Yeah.
Wallace, John Wallace,
Yes.
and Harvey,
Yes.
you have the motion. So at least three, six. So you have any objections? Frank Rollo?
Do I have any objections? Yes, but I will table them until another time.
Okay, it's overruled, right? It's 3-1 or
Thank
3-0, 3-0. So Frank, you are selected as the chairperson to conduct this meeting. So I'm passing this meetings to your, let me see.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Willie. So let's start by Troy introducing, or Leon, whoever, one of you introduce your team and their role.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm Troy Kashanipur. I'm the architect for the project. We have with us today, we have Leon Kemmel, who represents the owner, JUB Investments. We have Alex Voldarsky, who is the, did I say that right, Alex? I hope I got the last name right. So Alex is kind of a project manager and coordinator for the engineering side of this, which includes, we've got Gary Kleiner. Did I say that right, Gary, your last name? And Gary is on the shoring engineer portion. We have on the call, we have
Tony Summer.
yeah, Tony. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm looking for this name listing. It's not showing up here. So we have Tony also on this.
It's shown at the end.
What's the last name, please?
Samra, S-A-M-R-A.
Thank you.
And then we have Patrick Drum as the geologist.
Thank you. So let me give you an overview of the agenda. The way I like to operate the meeting is that the first thing after the introduction of the team is to ask if the public has any comments on any project or any issues in the city and county of San Francisco that is not the subject of this SAC. After that, I will ask the architect to provide an overview of the project and discuss the architectural aspects of it. And I will then turn to Harvey and ask Harvey if he has any questions or comments. Then I will open it up to the rest of the SAC to see if they have any comments or questions of the architect. And then we'll do the same thing with the geology, and it'll be Pat Drum discussing the geology and the seismic hazards associated with the site, if any. And then I'll turn to John Wallace and ask him to comment and question Patrick. And after John has completed his questioning and comments, I'll turn to the rest of the SAC, see if they have any questions and comments. We'll follow that with the geotechnical and the ADAPT reports, and then we'll go to the shoring, and then we'll go to the structural, then we'll go to the drainage. And after we've finished all the topics, I'll open it up to the public to see if they have any comments they'd like to make that are specific to this project. And once they've spoken, then I'll close the meeting to the public and, no, I'm sorry, close comments from the public and open the discussion within the SAC. Now understand that since this is a fluid situation, there'll be questions going back and forth, crossing different subjects, and I understand that. Troy, you have the wonderful responsibility of one, keeping the minutes, and with regard to the minutes, basically hit the salient points, and then within each topic, there will be action items. Make sure you capture the action items. You are also going to be the master of the orchestra, and we'll ask you to put up particular drawings or reports as we go along. Is that okay? You understand that? I think we had
Yes.
a good conversation, and
Right.
I think it's important at this point that we read into the record the documents that we have received, and start with the engineering, the Earth Focus Geologic Services report, and it's basically the original report that was done in 20 May 2015, which was done for 127 Edgehill, and then a follow-up report that was also done for 127 Edgehill, dated June 29th, and then the supplemental report that was published on July 3rd, 2019 for 181 Edgehill, and finally this supplemental report for 121 and 131 Edgehill, dated March 21st, 2021. In addition to that, there is a geotechnical investigation report prepared by ADEP Construction Solutions, originally dated April 16th, 2018, updated March 4th, 2021. Then we have the architectural drawings prepared by Troy Kashenskapor. I hope I'm close. The copy that I have dated, it says SAC review date, June 23rd, 2021. Then I have the shoring drawings that were prepared by ADAP, and they are dated April 24th, 2021. Then I have a structural drawing prepared by TSA, Structural Engineers, and ADAP, and they are dated April 20th, 2021. I believe I've covered the documents that were presented to the public and to the SAC for their review. I'm sorry, there are calculations, structural calculations, and they are undated. They were in the package, but there's no date on them. I don't know why. All it says is, oh, here's a date. May 6, 2021. And they were prepared by TSA, and TSA are the ones I have. Have I left any drawings, any documents out that were,
Yes, there are structural calculations that have to do with temporary shoring that were
Yeah,
prepared by ADAPT.
okay, let me look for those. I have structural calculations. John Hom, do you have the structural calculations? John Wallace, do you have the structural calculations?
I have the same structural calcs that you have dated May 6th, and I also have a document, the temporary shoring and structural coordination plans dated April 24th.
Yeah, that's different.
It's different.
So they're in the folder dated March 25th, 2021, are temporary shoring structural calculations produced by ADAPT and MTR.
Okay. Well, John Hom, do you have those? Please unmute yourself, John.
Do you hear me?
Yes, John, do you have the shoring?
So far, I receive all those without the shoring calculation. I have the part of the structural calculation.
Okay. Well, Troy, I don't know what to say. None of us seem to have them.
Give me one moment here. Let me look in the shared folder. One moment, please. Shoring calculations. If
I'll tell you what, when we get to shoring, maybe you can put up the sheet on the shoring.
of
that
course.
Show the design parameters.
So in the chat box, I just pasted in the link to the shared drive folder. And I think it's the fourth one down is the structural calcs. The third PDF down, it says 129 Edgehill shoring calculations.
I don't have that.
But I can also put it on the screen as needed.
Okay, as needed. Okay, so now I'll ask, I'll go to the public and ask the public if they would like to make any comments on any issues related to development in the city and county of San Francisco that's not a part of this subject of this SAC review. Not hearing of any, I'm closing that.
At this point, I didn't see any hand raised for the public comments or other than items that is on the agenda, but relevance to the missions of this SAC review.
Thank you, Willie. With that, we'll close that portion of the agenda and we'll go directly to the architect and ask Troy to provide us with an overview of the project.
Sure. Thank you, Frank. So I'm sure you may be familiar with the site 129 Edgehill. As you know, Edgehill is a curvilinear street. So the bottom of the property is on the lower portion of Edgehill, and the top of the parcel is at the top portion of Edgehill. As you know, Edgehill is a steep site. The basic proposal for the home is 1 story above grade with a mezzanine. We went through the DBI project review process, and we have a approved pre-application letter discussing the story count and the mezzanine. So we have 1 story above grade with the mezzanine, and then as the
Excuse me, Troy, interrupting you. Maybe, Willie, would you share the screen with Troy? And perhaps, Troy, you can
share
provide
drawings.
a plan and then in a couple sections.
Correct.
Okay, let's see. Okay, you're the presenter, Troy.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me open up the files. Oops. Are you seeing the drawings on the screen?
Now we see your list of
Your
documents.
browser, one moment, let me figure out how to.
Those folders.
Bear with me 1 second while I try to figure out how to share. Stop sharing. Okay. All right. Do you see the drawings now?
Yes, now on
Okay.
first page.
Can you make it a little larger, or is that about it?
I can try.
I don't think so. Yeah. Well, no, you can't. That's about it. Okay.
Okay. So the basic site map, Edgehill is a curvilinear street with the lower portion of the Edgehill being towards the north and the higher portion being towards the south. This property at 129 is between, well, previously it was 3 vacant lots. There has been a home built at 127 Edgehill. There is another proposed home at 131 Edgehill being coordinated by a different architect. So let me go to a basic 3D view. As you can see in the upper left photo, the entry is at the top portion of the hill with the 2-car garage and living space behind the garage. And then the building steps down roughly following the slope of the hillside with the idea of, minimizing the amount of
I'm
excavation.
sorry, can you go back to that? I assume we're looking at the middle building, right?
Correct. I'm sorry. Yes. So this is the proposed dwelling at 129. The white building to the right here is at 127, and that is already constructed. And you may remember that project going through SAC review maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Very well.
The building at 131 is here to the left as proposed currently. So if you just look at this rear view, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. This upper level here is the main living level, and then this area under the slanted roof is the mezzanine itself. And so we have 1, 2, 3 levels below the main living level, and then a basement level, as this below grade level qualifies for the definition of a basement. So and this is as seen from the lower level of Edgehill Road. On the side view, again, you get a little more perspective on the stepping of the volumes going back from the lower portion of Edgehill, terminating at this mezzanine level underneath the slanted roof. Let me just skip over to the.
Troy, quick question, if you can go back to that previous drawing.
Sure.
Okay, I just want to point out that the area below all the buildings is actually improved, not like a grass lawn as we see now. It has retaining walls, it has steps, it has all sorts of things. So there's a approximately 5 to 7 foot retaining wall at the property line, and the grade is not as substantial as shown here. But the
On
building
127,
itself-
you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, the model does not reflect the work that was done at the rear of 127, the existing building.
Right. I just want to point out that that is the case. Okay.
Oh, thank you. That's a good comment.
You have picture, Troy.
What's that?
You
Well,
have picture.
Let's focus on the architect making the presentation. The questions will come from the SAC. And then if the other members of the team wish to make comments, they can. But this right now is the architect's presentation, followed by Harvey and then the rest of the SAC. So let's focus. Go ahead, Troy.
Thank you, Frank. So I'm just moving over to the floor plans. This level that is on the screen now represents the basement. I have tried to coordinate the grid lines moving up through the site between the architectural and the structural drawings. And so this is the lowermost level considered a basement. And then stepping up to the first floor, we have a small terrace, and then there is an accessory dwelling unit associated with the property. So this leftmost portion is part of the ADU, and the rightmost portion is part of the main home. So first floor plan, stairway coming up, and then the main stairway, an elevator shaft that integrates the entire building. Coming to the second floor, basically bedroom levels, stairway, again, the elevator shaft, traveling up through the building, proposed third floor plan. So this is one level below the uppermost grade, or the uppermost, or the garage level grade, floor rather. Again, more bedrooms, a small terrace area, a mechanical space, and then the grade at the top portion of Edgehill, again, garage, entry level, some stepping down from the sidewalk into this lower garden courtyard space, and then the entry to the building. Again, our stairway and our elevator, kitchen, dining, living, and then a terrace at the rear. And then one level above grade, we have our mezzanine space, meeting the definitions of a mezzanine, and then another terrace level above the floor below. And that's the fourth floor mezzanine. Looking at the rear and front elevations, I've dashed in the street elevation at face of curb, and then the grade at the face of the building on this proposed south elevation. And then the rear elevation, of course, you can see all of the levels of the building, including the mezzanine and the basement level. The basement level at the rear has a full exposure, I would add. So it's not, what you would think of as a below grade basement. The side elevation, this is west, showing the existing contour at that west face of the building. And then the same exercise on the east side, showing the existing contour line at that east face. And then the building itself, showing the cross section at the middle of the lot itself, so you can kind of see the approximate level of cut, and in some cases where there is no cut relative to the existing grade. And then the rest are just architectural details as needed for permit in this set.
Can you go back to that drawing? Is it A3? Was it A3.3?
3.3, this cross section?
Yeah, there you go. So the So that line represents the ground surface today?
That represents the existing ground surface at the center line of the lot,
Okay.
right, the center line of the building.
So what is the maximum cut? Unsupported.
I think the maximum cut is approximately, it's a little small on my screen. So it's about 15 feet, I would say, at this location, and that's
Where's that? Okay.
that's grid line C0 or CO, C0.
Okay, the one I'm looking at shows that the cut is about 10'6", but it's more than that then.
Yeah, I measured 17 feet, Frank, is the max that I saw from the base of the slab to the top.
And I guess we'll see that on the structural. Okay, well, thank you, Troy.
Are there any additional questions from me?
Well, yeah, Harvey, it's all yours.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I understand the plans and the sections. I have no questions.
I have one question on the A33 while it's up. On the far right side, I don't know what the line is from above, right above your cursor.
This here?
When you
No,
walk,
it looks like the slope continues up.
Oh, I guess if you were to cut a cross section and look at the in elevation, look at the ascension of the street and the sidewalk. So that's the sidewalk and road in elevation beyond. Let's just say that.
Yeah, there's a roadway. If you stand at the top of the existing slope, you got a roadway behind you, and then you have a cut rising that continues to rise up to the knob.
Okay, it didn't make sense to me.
No, that doesn't make, it does not make sense. In fact, it shows, if you look at it, it shows that right now there's a vertical cut. I think the best drawing to look at is A3.1.
Yeah, looking at the exact,
Look at A3.1. You'll see the road. And then he's showing a projection of the road going uphill as well as the slope at the back of the road. He's showing two things on that. See where it says sidewalk entry? And you see it says new curb?
yeah,
That's actually the street going up. And then if you go to the right of that, he shows the street with another slope. So
this
what
is
he's
street
showing,
is go to 131 Edgehill. It's
Yeah,
not
it's-
necessary to show it.
it's confusing. It's really confusing.
yeah.
And if you look at that same drawing, you'll see that the maximum cut on that one, if you add the two, you get 11'6" and 10'6". You approximately 21.5 to 22 feet of cut. Just for making, so, okay. John, do you have any more questions of the architect on this?
No, that was it.
Okay. I will have more questions later on, Troy, when it comes to drainage, subsurface drainage, but I'll reserve that till later. I think we should go on to now what is perhaps the most important part of this discussion, and that will be the geology. So Patrick, perhaps between you and John, you have put on many years walking these hills. Perhaps you can walk us through the history of the site as well as your
Chairman,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. Do you entertain staff questions regarding architecture?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I have a comments on this thing here. Looks like that is more than 4-story of constructions are being proposed in this Type 5 building. So I was just wondering if you do anticipate to have a Type 1 constructions with the Type 5 on top?
It is no, if I can refer you to the pre-application meeting from Irene, it is type 5A construction. And it's, we did the grade plane calculation to document the lower level as a bedroom, basement, and then the top floor being 1/3 the top level being 1/3 the area of the upper floor, which would qualify as a mezzanine. So that's the approach that we've taken with it.
Okay. Now you be aware that you cannot have more than 4 levels of combustible constructions in this Type 5 here, right?
In 4 stories, there's no more than 4 stories.
Not 4-story, but 4 levels of combustible construction.
I can pull up the pre-app meeting
Yeah.
if that's important at this point.
Well, I don't think it's important at this point because we're looking at slope stability at this
Okay.
point. But of course, you would have retaining walls and structures as such. But architecturally, that's I'm not familiar with the pre-app, so probably the plan checker Stephen Liu is going to take a closer look at that regarding that. So Stephen, you are on, right? So you should. I believe that you're on, but you don't have a microphone for some reason. So you should take note of that one here. But anyway, don't want to interrupt this piece here, but
Excuse me, since we're on, because this is a public record. So as perhaps what I understand, there may be some confusion as to 4 levels of combustible construction versus 5 stories. And as I understand what you're saying, Troy, that it's 5 stories, but in reality, it's considered only 4 levels.
My understanding from our pre-application meeting is that we have 4 stories plus a basement level in this circumstance, and that the Type 5 1-hour construction is appropriate in this circumstance per Chapter 5, and that's documented in the pre-application meeting letter with Irene Wong.
Okay, so the action item would be that you will provide Steve Liu with the appropriate documentation that describes the structure correctly.
Correct. I can follow up with Stephen on that. The letter is in the architectural drawings at this time, but I can follow up with an additional copy if needed.
Thank you, Willie, for your comments and.
thank you very much.
So at this point, I'd like to turn to geology and just briefly, there have been 4 studies performed by Earth Focused Geologic Services dating back to 2015. I don't want to bore everyone details of all 4, but if you would, Patrick, focus in on your findings and conclusions, and specifically speak to both seismic stability, long-term static stability, and construction slope stability, in addition to faulting and liquefaction and all the other things. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, John, can you hear him?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I don't know where the echo is coming from.
We're getting feedback, Patrick.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from.
Patrick, at the bottom of your screen, you have a microphone button. There's a audio options setting on that. Click on the option that says noise removal.
I don't think I have that.
Okay.
Near
now you
your
don't have
mute
it.
button. There's a little down arrow near your mute button.
Okay, and
Well, we don't have any feedback now.
what's the rest of it?
Well, the feedback seems to be okay.
Okay, I did nothing.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
What were your instructions?
Oh, there's a noise removal button. If you click next to the mute button, there's a down arrow which opens up a window.
Yeah.
And then there's a tab that says noise removal.
I got it. Does that help?
No.
Okay.
Or you can try turning down the volume on the computer.
Hello, hello.
There you go.
Are you using your phone as well as the?
All right, how's this?
Works
It
better.
seems to be okay.
All right. So if you can hear me, the published geologic maps suggest that all of Edgehill Mountain is underlain by chert bedrock. It dips consistently to the northeast. On the fringe of Edgehill Mountain, that's where the thicker native superficial deposits begin. In other words, slope wash debris. The site is sort of near the boundary between the chert bedrock and the lower native superficial deposits. The seismic hazards maps indicate that the project site is within an earthquake-induced landslide zone. The project site and the neighboring sites to the east and the west are in the same zone. The site is not in a liquefaction zone. The site is not in an earthquake fault zone. So what I've done is borrowed some old information from a nearby project that I did in 2015 for 127 Edgehill. On that project, I logged a couple of test pits. I logged a deep boring down below. I mapped the bedrock surrounding the area, produced the engineering geologic hazards report. And I also saw the latter part of the construction for the house at 127 Edgehill in 2018 and 2019. And then just last year, I was involved in the neighboring house up the hill to the east at 181 Edgehill, where the owner built a garage. So I had the benefit of logging the excavations that were founded into bedrock. So with all this information, there is chert bedrock underlying the site. It dips to the northeast, which is essentially perpendicular to the natural slope. In other words, the bedrock does not dip out of the slope, and it does not dip into the slope. It dips normal to the slope. The bedrock seems to be near the surface at the top of the slope, and then it steepens down below the surface towards lower Edgehill. So that's pretty much it for me. If you have questions.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Patrick. You take, not Patrick, John, you take the lead and I'll open it up to everyone later.
Okay. This is John Wallace, the SAC geologist. our review of Pat Drum's documents and work and our knowledge with, extensive knowledge with Edgehill, it's my opinion that Pat has done a good job characterizing the site geologic conditions and the geologic hazards. This is an unusual case in the fact that we essentially have 129 surrounded with data. We don't always have so much data. And so I feel very confident that the geologic conditions are fairly well documented and constrained, and that we have a good idea of what to expect when these slopes get opened up for the excavations. I've gone through Pat's geologic hazard evaluations. I agree in general, starting at the top with landsliding, that there's a relatively low risk of landsliding. There are landslides that have been documented, and Pat documented a shallow landslide at 127 right next door in test pits. And it was basically what we already know, that the shallow soils are susceptible in this area, much more susceptible to sliding, at least in the natural terrain. Once you excavate into Edgehill, then you open up the bedrock to potential large-scale failures, which we saw around on the southeast side back in the 1990s. So one of my comments that'll come later is related to some of the geotechnical recommendations, and I'll get to that at the end. But I agree that the landslide risk is low. Groundwater seepage was brought up by Patrick as kind of an unknown. We do want to note that groundwater was encountered in at least one of the exploratory boreholes at the site or in the surrounding area. There have been at least 9 exploratory boreholes on the 2 properties that are close by, 4 on 129. And the soils vary in depth from 5 to about 12 feet thick, depending on where you are. And so we certainly agree that the soils are susceptible to sliding. But seepage is also a potential once this hillside is opened up. And so we certainly want, and Patrick has mentioned that, that needs to be looked at during, obviously closely monitored during excavations. Very hard bedrock is anticipated, and that was a constraint in Patrick's work. The chert bedrock tends to be extremely hard, and so excavating that could be a very difficult endeavor. And oftentimes that endeavor includes hoe rams possibly and vibrations. So that is something that the geotechnical engineer recommended monitoring of the excavations, but not specifically vibration monitoring. So that is certainly something that we would like to see part of the project, provided there will be heavy equipment out there, which we anticipate there likely will be. Daylighting bedrock orientation was a constraint proposed by Patrick, as he already mentioned that he thinks that's a low risk to the project due to the fact that it's not daylighting downslope. One thing that we've observed at Edgehill during some of the large failures that were out there is the bedrock orientation is not necessarily a chert failure mechanism. It's typically shearing and fracturing that is responsible for a lot of the failures. So as part of our recommendations, we want the project geologist to be on site during excavation to identify any, not necessarily even bedding. We know what the bedding's doing, but the fracturing can be far more destabilizing. So we want the project geologist on site during excavation to identify those and make sure that those are taken care of by the, the shoring apparatus. Other geologic hazards mentioned, seismic shaking is high, obviously, and that's going to be part of the project structural design. Faulting is low and liquefaction is low. So those are the geologic hazards that were characterized. We agree in general with Patrick Drum's work. We think he's done a good job. Obviously, the interaction between the engineering geologist and the geotechnical engineer is instrumental in a successful project. And so as part of that, we look at, how do the geotechnical recommendations affect the geology and vice versa. And so there's a couple of recommended items that I have thrown into my letter, and I don't know if that got circulated. That was sent to Willie earlier in the day so that it could be circulated. If it hasn't been circulated, it will. So one of the things that I did is I took the geologic cross section that was, I think, a depth, put that together and overlaid that onto the structural sections and looked at the foundation recommendations.
Can we address, you're going in the same area that I think we're all going to get to. Can you maybe hold off on that? I am not aware of any letter that you've written to Willie. I think it's great that you have, but I think it's important that that document has to be a public document. It should have been put in the, I'm not picking on you, John. It's because this is a SAC and not an ordinary review, that document should have been circulated to the SAC and to the public for their comment. So Willie, if you have that letter, I would encourage you to put it in the appropriate Dropbox or uplift, and then circulate it to the members of the SAC.
I didn't have a chance to open up this email, so I just opened this thing up here. So probably I think this is regarding the let's see what it is here. Is that if it is addressed to, that is for the publics. Okay.
If you forward it,
this is a report.
Folder.
This is a report of discussions of this with the certain conclusions of this thing here. So I can share the screens and John can actually narrate.
No. We haven't. We other members of the SAC have had not had a chance to review it. Neither has the applicant. Neither has the public. So that I would suggest that you attach that to the minutes.
Okay, so Chair.
If I understand correctly, everything we do as a SAC is in sunshine.
Yes, that's correct.
This is a public document.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so if putting it on the screen now doesn't give the public, nor the SAC, nor the applicant an opportunity to have reviewed it. So I would encourage, let's just attach it to the minutes.
Okay, all right.
And John, what I'd like you to do is when we get to the specific items that are in that letter that affect shoring geotechnical and structural, please bring them up then.
Yeah, obviously, like I mentioned, there's crossover and how the geology affects
Yeah, yeah.
the overall project is instrumental to getting this successfully built. So
I totally agree.
wherever you think it's going, I wanted to let you know that when you overlay the geology onto the structural shoring, that's a discussion I'd like to have when you think it's appropriate.
Yeah, that's going to be an important subject because I want to go back. Yes, I'd like to discuss it on the shoring and the structural, because there's a lot of issues that we probably have identified, but we should both bring them up. But I think as far as the letter, no one's had an opportunity to review it. And this is Sunshine, so I would ask that Willie forward it to Troy as well as to the SAC, and then it become part of the minutes. Can we stick to geology? So maybe, can I ask a few questions? John, are you finished as far as the geology? As I understanding, you believe that he's adequately characterized the site. He's identified the issues. What I would call wedge failures, potential for fracturing wedge failures. There's no risk of liquefaction. There's no risk of faulting. There is strong ground shaking, and water may play a role, especially at the interface between the slope debris and the rock.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Pat, and John, I'd like you to jump in on this too. If I were to say to you, well, first of all, one of the comments that was made that this is hard rock and it may be difficult drilling. I guess I should ask the owner, was there any difficulty installing the drill piers? I'm sorry, the soldier piles at 127?
Each bore take 2 days and 20 feet depth. It costs money, but not difficult.
So there was hard drilling, but you were able to drill.
Yes, it's
Okay.
possible. Yeah. Now it go better. I think it's easier.
Okay.
Nothing special there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hard drilling, but
Yeah.
feasible. Okay.
Heavy excavator. Yeah.
Well, we'll
It
get to that.
take couple months for us to make it almost 36 soldier piles and some piers, and additional piers.
Okay, that's for 129.
127.
So 127 took that long also. Okay.
127. Yeah, it's our project that we finished and sold May 2020.
Yes, I went up and looked at it many times. Patrick, considering that, as John has pointed out, the site's blanketed with slope debris, fill, wash, and as John has pointed out, it ranges on this site anywhere from 5 to 12 feet thick, and then you get into the chert. From a construction standpoint, how steep a slope how steep can you excavate the slope and still maintain a stability, a factor of safety of at least 1.5? Temporary slopes.
Are you talking about in soil?
Yeah, well, yes, because you're going to have to cut 12 feet of soil before you can get to the rock. So,
There is not 12 feet.
well, there's according to the borings that I reviewed, it ranged from 5, 7, and 9. I'm sorry. 1, it ranged to 9 feet, 5 was 7 feet, and boring 3 was 6 feet.
Yeah. But not 12.
Well, John mentioned 12, so I guess he saw some evidence of that.
Yeah, on that slope in the immediate vicinity, it's been documented to be that deep. So I'm throwing it out there that you should be ready for that, just in case. I'm assuming all the excavations are going to be shored and not left unshored. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, that's not the question I'm asking Pat, though.
Okay.
In order to, he's gonna have to provide drill rig access to install the, he's gonna have to provide drill rig access to install the drill piers. And he's gonna have to make some temporary cuts. And I'm trying to get a handle on the steepness of those cuts. Also, at 181 Edgehill, 13 feet of soil was encountered, and then it went into chert. So John is correct in saying that it could be 12 feet. I guess I'm trying to get a handle on, let me tell you where I'm coming from. The geotechnical report says you can cut a temporary slope at 1 to 2. That's a 1/2 to 1 slope. And I'm trying to get a handle. Can you cut this soil at a 1/2 to 1 slope?
I don't think the that steep a slope in the soil would work. I think
That's why I
it's
put
laid
it
back
to you.
further.
What would be an
Better
appropriate
than that.
angle? What would be appropriate inclination?
And we're assuming temporarily in dry situations, right?
Yes, just to get the rig in to drill the holes so we can do the lagging, the drilling and the lagging. Because when we get into the geotechnical, because I think this is more geology, the geotechnical report as presently written indicates that temporary cuts can be 1 and 2, as they put it, or 1 and 3. And I'm going to conclude, based on my knowledge of this area, that that's not appropriate. So I'm trying to get an understanding from the geologists who have looked at this, if they would agree with me that a 1/2 to 1 slope is too steep.
I agree with you. A 1/2 to 1 slope is too steep.
Thank you. We'll get to the geotech part, and that's on page 15 of the geotechnical report. The other question I have is that I completely agree with John that during excavation, and especially during excavation, that full-time observation by the geologist is warranted. During installation of the drill piers, because they are being used for foundation support, full-time observation under special inspection required by the geotech. I think it would be in the best interest of the project if again, speaking to the geology, that monitoring be considered, vibration monitoring be considered initially. Does anybody else have any comments on the geology?
I have a question, Frank. In terms of implementing, and this is an action item, are we expecting the geologist to develop language that will go into the permit drawings on monitoring and vibration monitoring and groundwater monitoring?
I would say that we'd expect the geologist to, or the geotech, or that language being developed that indicates that during excavation, full-time observation by the geologist during, it's if you look at the special inspection report that you have to, observation that you file with you got to check boxes 11, 13, and 21A under special inspection. And I'm saying that for those items, full-time observation of excavations by geologists and full-time observation of the soldier pile installation by the geotech.
Okay.
And as far as monitoring goes, I think it's in the best interest of the client that they talk to somebody like Municon or someone where they do some vibration monitoring initially to see if the peak particle velocities are excessive, they could cause damage to the surrounding, because there are some older developments in the area.
Okay, so that's principally through the special inspection checklist, and that we would qualify that to include these additional items.
Yes. John, you agree?
Yeah, and putting them on the plans too, so who's ever out there looks at them and makes sure that there's somebody doing that and that they have a something in writing that they're looking at that triggers them. Oh yeah, we're supposed to have somebody out here. Make sure they're on the plans.
Okay. With that, I'm going to get into the geotechnical. And the geotechnical report is a report that was prepared initially in April 16th, 2018, and then updated on March 4th, 2021. I'm going to turn it over to either Alex, I guess Alex, if you wish, but before I do that, I'd like you to, on page 1 of the report, reference is made to 130 Edgehill, and I believe you meant 131 Edgehill. And on figure 1, your north arrow is going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and 130 is referenced all the way through the report too, so that's something that should be corrected all the way through.
And then change the north arrow, direction of north arrow. Okay, Alex, are you going to discuss the geotechnical aspects?
Igor can start on geotechnical aspects. Since he did the testing. But I wanted to bring something up. Temporary cuts, as far as I'm concerned, are not necessary to bring equipment to the property because it's climbing up from the bottom edge hill without any problems.
Who just spoke?
Oh.
Who was it that just spoke?
That's
Yes,
Alex
Alex.
Roldarski.
Oh, Alex, okay, I'm sorry.
How you doing?
So
Sorry.
Alex, you're saying you're gonna go bottom up.
Yes, it's all bottom up and no temporary slopes are required at any time.
Okay, but and I appreciate that, and I know that because I've watched you do other projects. But your geotechnical report, the report prepared by your geotechnical engineer, that it's okay to make a 1 to 2, half to 1 and a 1/3 to 1 cut on the site. And as a SAC reviewer, as a geotechnical SAC reviewer, and John as the geologic SAC reviewer, we both find that inclination is unacceptable in the soil mantle over the church.
And there's a there's a retaining wall at the bottom of that slope. So is that going to be ripped out? And then you've got a vertical slope that you have to cut in order to get a piece of equipment up there. What is your plan? I guess that would help to hear that.
Well, there's a retaining wall at 127 edge. As far as I know, there's nothing at 129 edge.
No, there is a retaining wall at 129. There's a 4-foot high wooden retaining wall.
Yeah, there's a bulkhead. Alex, there's a bulkhead wall. It's a wood soldier pile with wood lagging wall. I think it was.
It only shows at 127.
No, it's at 129.
Huh. Interesting. Well,
says-
Leon, can you comment on this?
It's on sheet S82, it states wood wall. It specifically states it. It's a wood wall on the 129 line. And what John is saying is you're gonna go up that slope, you're gonna have to make a cut. And all we're saying is, if you make a cut in that soil, it is in fact soil, it is in fact, could be up to 9 feet thick based on the borings on this side. A 1/2 to 1 slope is, as a geotechnical SAC reviewer, as a geologic SAC reviewer, we will not accept that, because part of our scope is that we have to check that appropriate static stability is maintained during construction as well as long term.
I don't know what you're talking about. I built temporary pressure treated retaining wall when I during construction 127 to make it more place to keep it material. I make it this wall temporary by myself. You're talking about this wall? What is pressure treated wall? Lower parts 129 now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's temporary retaining wall. What I built just to make it more clean from the debris street, lower parts of the Edgehill.
Right.
It's possible to move out this wall and to bring to regular natural sloping back. And also, yeah, we have also retaining wall very deep between 127 and 129 retaining wall concrete, and what is help us to make it whatever construction.
Yes.
Also the upper parts is also like clay. I think it's possible to make it not more sloping than 2 to 1. I don't know by the code, but there is, we have shoring there. I don't know why there is, I don't see any problem to make it terracing and then build it and find a place to build retaining wall across this lot and to keep it equipment, heavy equipment there.
Okay, Leon, please, let's, I'm gonna take back the meeting, okay? What we're saying is that right now, your geotechnical engineer has said it's acceptable for you to make a temporary cut of 1/2 to 1/3 to 1. And we are saying, as a SAC, we will not respond favorably to that steepness of slope. Yes, we know you're gonna have to make cuts, but the cuts should be stable. And so we would like the geotechnical engineer to go back, look at his recommendations, and make the appropriate recommendations for the materials that are present at this site. That's what we're saying. So with that, I'd like to go back and ask the geotechnical engineer to, we can do it two ways. You can go through the report, or I can raise issues and you can respond to them. Would that perhaps be the easiest?
Yeah, that'd probably save time.
Okay, so if everyone has a copy of the report, we're dealing with a site that's surrounded by sites that have been well investigated and have had construction occur on them. We know that it's chert. We know that it's blank. The chert is blanketed based on 3 borings that were drilled on this site by 6, 7, and 9 feet of slope debris. We know the geologist has told us that the bedding is, the dip and the bedding are favorable. However, there is a potential for what I call wedge failures, because we've seen it in the the logs do not differentiate between fill and slope debris. The logs indicate that the soil is medium dense. Low counts of 12 to 25 based on dynamic cone penetration. By the way, borings were not drilled. What was done was dynamic cone penetration and measured the resistance. There were no undisturbed samples obtained. There were no strength data. So engineering judgment is being used to develop the strength parameters and design parameters for the project. And that's fine because there isn't a lot of experience.
Well, and they're not relying on the soil. You know, we're dealing with bedrock.
Yeah, but we are relying on soil for temporary slopes.
Right.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
The site's been classified as a Class D. I have no problem with that. You could probably argue a Class C. We know that based on the work that was done in 2018, that groundwater was encountered at 9 feet during the drilling of the piers at 127. However, we know that there are no sandy soils, so liquefaction is not likely, and we discussed that.
Hey, Frank,
Yes,
we have a hand up. Gary.
go ahead, Gary. Where's Gary?
Unmute your phone. Unmute your button on your computer.
Looks like he doesn't have a mic.
I thought he had his telephone.
Gary, have you called in? You can put it in the chat.
Oh, good. Yeah, temporary slope. This slope was in a condition of pretty much bedrock. On the side, we have soil from practically 0 to let's say 10-12 feet. And all the slope, temporary slope, steep slope can be done only under continuous observation and the situation where we need to bring equipment. But at this point, and on recommendation, we have fully shored site. So we have shoring in all over the site. We understand this practically important, and also we have good experience with 127 Edgehill, where we actually observed drilling, and we were able to reach bedrock and embed into the bedrock, and the same plan for this site. To properly embed into the bedrock. Vibration is very good, actually common, and we will observe this. We observed actually on 127, and look like it's, we used pretty heavy equipment, and we didn't have complications on 127. Yeah, so it's, in general, geotechnically, we assume soil envelope, and because of this particular site, we embed all our piers, and it's a building based on concrete piers, and all of them embedded into the bedrock. So we consider this pretty stable solution, and I think also we want benefit to the general stability of the site, and especially when site will be organized, when drainage will happen, it will even benefit to it. And like short comment, and I can answer all questions.
Well, okay, Gary, except that I'm reviewing what's in the geotechnical report. When we get to the shoring, we can talk about the drill depths and the so-and-so, because there's some significant discrepancies about what you just said and what's said in the soil report and what's shown on the drawings. But let me go through the soil report at this point in time, make sure we have a clear understanding. What I'm saying to you is that your soil report says on page 11, which I think is very good, it speaks to monitoring program, and I believe that the monitoring program that's outlined on page 11 should include vibration monitoring, and that the recommendations should become part of the drawings and be placed on the drawings, where you speak specifically when to read the monitoring points. You go on to say, you make a recommendation that all slabs on grade be supported on at least 1 foot of engineered fill. Select existing on-site materials that are over excavated and recompacted. I have no problem with that. What you're saying is you want to cover the rock cut with a foot of soil. Is that correct?
And well compacted. Yeah.
Okay. On page 14 of your report, you present lateral pressures. However, you do not provide a lateral pressure diagram for a tied back wall. The lateral pressure diagram that's shown on the drawings is not appropriate for a tied back wall. So you'll need to go back and look at that. You're showing a triangular distribution with a tied back wall, when in fact it is tied, it's triangular for a portion, and then it's a vertical constant value. There's no recommendations in here for values to be used on tied back walls. You make recommendations that the structure be supported on drill piers, and you provide strength criteria. You indicate on page 16 that the piers should be at least 18 feet long and 10 feet into rock. However, that's in conflict with the drawing.
18-inch diameter, I think.
18-inch diameter and 18 feet deep. You do on page 15, you do give a value of 600 PSF in rock for the tie back, but you do not specify the unbonded length for the tie back. I can agree with you on your recommendations for retaining walls. So there's a lot of good stuff in the report, but I think when we get into the plans, issues that, again, I as a geotechnical engineer, having worked on Edgehill for many years, and working with the Board of Supervisors and developing the ordinance that governs Edgehill, I can't accept the cuts that are recommended. I know you're going to use good judgment, but if your geotechnical report says right now it's okay to cut a 1/2 to 1 slope on that site. Now that may be true in rock, but it is not true in the soil.
Hey, Frank,
Yeah.
one other item that I saw related to exactly what you're talking about on the piers. It says at least 10 feet into competent soil / bedrock. I'd like to eliminate the word soil from that, because we don't think there's anything resembling competent soil on Edgehill. The only thing competent is the bedrock. Any soil should be considered unstable out there. So that's just one other item I had.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, that's on page
16.
page 16 and 17. Yes. So if you go,
Frank, I just want to bring up one subject that you mentioned, 2-to-1 slope, and compare it to existing grade. Existing grade.
the geotechnical engineer recommends a 2-to-1 permanent slope. I didn't make any recommendations for temporary slope. I asked the question, what would be a safe temporary slope in soil? That's the question I've asked.
Yes, but I just want to mention that the current slope on site is greater than 2-to-1. Current.
It's steeper than 2-to-1.
It's steeper than 2-to-1 already.
Understand that, but we are looking at, and we also know that slides have occurred in those slopes. What I'm looking at is I'm not sure you're making any permanent slopes, first of all. All slopes, as I understand it, all your cuts are retained by walls. Isn't that true?
Yes, all my cuts are retained by walls, but you brought up the temporary slope, that 2-to-1 is not acceptable. I'm bringing up.
No, I said half to one.
Oh, half to one, okay.
Your geotechnical engineer is recommending 1/3 to 1 and 1/2 to 1 slopes. And I'm saying that's not acceptable to me as a geotechnical engineer and a member of the SAC.
Right, okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Suggesting to you that you meet with your geologist and you discuss it with your geotechnical engineer and provide recommendations that are appropriate for anywhere from 6 to 9 feet of soil cover over the rock.
Right, okay.
yeah, it's no problem.
So beyond that, there's discussion about drainage, and we'll get into that when we discuss the plans themselves. At this point in time, are there any other SAC members that would like to discuss any aspects of the geotechnical report?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, at this, John, we're going to turn to shoring. I'd like the applicant's shoring designer to.
Frank, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
John, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so let me finish my comment. Then I'd like the applicant's shoring designer to talk about his shoring design. And then John, I would like you to get into the details, okay?
Okay. It's my turn?
No, well, unless the shoring designer
We
chooses
have,
one.
we have two Johns in here. So it's a little mix. John Morris and John Hom.
Yeah, I'm asking the shoring designer to discuss his design.
Yes, how are you doing? This is Alex. So, Frank, in essence, we have existing hillside, which should be cleared of debris and the very loose soil. At that point, I suggest we drill most or all piers that will receive soldier piles, install those soldier piles, and then proceed with a temporary cut section up to approximately 6 foot height, 6 foot depth, and start doing the tiebacks as we go up. So essentially, we start from the bottom up, but all the piers and all the soldier piles should be installed first. And as we start excavating, we install the tiebacks. And at that point, the excavation will be into bedrock. That's probably why there is an approximate length shown for the tiebacks and the values for the tiebacks. So all of the shoring will be done from the bottom up, and the maximum height at one point, we have 14.5 feet. We don't have anything higher than 14.5.
Okay, thank you. That's good information.
Say that again. You're shoring from the bottom up.
Yes, our first cut is on the bottom, and our first wall is from the bottom.
I
And
thought
so,
I was thinking shoring an individual cut top down is typical. I thought you were talking, you're going to make a 14-foot cut and then start shoring it from bottom to top. Okay.
no, the reason,
Bottom up.
They're shoring as they go down. I mean, they're putting the lagging in. They spell that out in the plan. They're putting the lagging in as they make the cut.
Do we have a shoring contractor on board?
Is there?
Do we have a shoring contractor on board at all? Now?
I don't think they have a specific shoring contractor on board, but as geotechnical engineering company, we've done shoring ourselves, and we've spoke to several shoring contractors to pick their brains about how to do it. And most importantly, we've done geotechnical at 127 Edgehill. We're very familiar with how it was proceeding. And the biggest problem was actually the cut on the very top near the road. That's why we're leaving it last.
Okay. John, do you have any comments or questions you have regarding the design of the shoring?
My turn now, Frank?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I hope you hear me.
Yes.
I have quite a bit of items in here. First of all, on the shoring design, every soldier beam should have a name. So for identification purpose, for inspector, for buyer, for ordering, you don't have a name, people just don't know how to communicate.
So how about a number, John? You mean a number?
Yeah, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 20. So everybody knows which one we're calling about. The inspector know how to inspect and put on his report. Soldier beam 4, soldier beam 5.
Well, yeah, but there are technically only two types of beams.
You should have it. I know you on the beam SP all the same name. That's the trouble.
Yes, but see, what you're suggesting leaves contractors.
Every beam have a name.
But it leaves contractors to pre-ordering steel ahead of time. And we had bad experience on one of the projects. And when we went to drilling, the drill depth was completely different.
So you just for communication, not just for you and the contractor, for the designer, the checker, the plan checker.
No problem. We can add the numbers to all the beams.
Okay, that's the first item.
No problem.
The second item is the design criteria, the parameter. This look like for cantilever soldier beam only, not for tie back. I wonder who set it up. Do the geotechnical engineer agree that design parameters on this thing? And then also the failure plane. Where you can see the failure plane, there's a lots of idea on it.
Wow.
So who set it up? Who has the authority to do so?
Yeah, we have calculations of shoring, and in calculation there is a particular number for each the beam and calculation for tieback.
Yeah, but for
Time out, Gary. What John is saying is the pressure diagram that you're applying to a tied back wall is for a cantilever wall and is inappropriate for a tied back wall. Furthermore, the imaginary line that defines the unbonded to the bonded is incorrect.
It's a, for
The
time,
third comment is that you've indicated you're only requiring 3-foot unbonded length. And the reality is, if you have a 12-foot high cut, your unbonded length is significantly more than 3 feet.
Well, the tieback design parameters are shown on sheet SH3.
It's correct. It's incorrect.
Well, assumed failure plane is a lot more than 3 feet on that
I know
detail.
it's there, but when you, in your drawings, you're calling it out as 3 feet.
Those are for cantilever soldier beam, those sound okay, but not for tieback design.
so when you plan, we have in the third report, we have calculation of temporary shore and structural calculation. And maybe it was missing. And here it's shown like we have at least 15 feet, 12 feet for failure plane. Failure plane.
Well, I believe that design criteria right on drawing SH3, it shows in there just for both cantilever soldier beam and tieback beam.
That's correct. John is correct that you don't have the appropriate pressure diagram for tied back wall. You do not call out the unbonded length. And in fact, the plane, the unbonded length plane is improperly designed. It's H/5 and then 60 degrees because you are going through a soil mantle. And so it's H/5 and then 60 degrees. You call out, you don't call out the length of the unbonded. You do not call out the unbonded length other than you make a point that it's 3 feet. You don't have any details on the tiebacks themselves. You don't indicate whether it's a double corrosion bar. All you say is a number 8 or number 10 grade 80. You do not have it double corrosion. You don't show what size hole you want that to be drilled. You don't indicate whether there's a grout pipe.
No, Frank, for the tieback, this tieback is not permanent installation. There's a need double corrosion. But
Okay, but
somehow
he should have a grout pipe in there. He doesn't show.
do they intend to use the tieback as a permanent?
No,
Okay, so it's not double corrosion doesn't necessary.
Okay, but you should indicate a grout pipe. You should indicate the size of the hole. You should.
we are indicating it, Frank. It's on
8 inch.
detail SH4.
Yeah, 8-inch.
I'm looking at it. Where?
Yes. It's 8-inch hole.
Where?
Detail 4, Frank, sheet SH4.
Okay, why you on SH4? Tell you a detail 6. That soldier beam block out will never work.
Excuse me?
How you install it? That's a question.
Yeah,
How you put a drill through the soldier beam?
yes, you drill through the soldier beam. Why not?
Oh, with a 8-inch hole?
No,
You damage the soldier beam. That detail doesn't work.
So you're drilling an 8-inch hole and you're gonna set the bar, but your soldier pile's in the way you've got it designed.
Would come first, soldier beam first. You tie back second. You swing the rod in or trap it in.
I
No.
understand what you're saying. Yes, we can amend that detail.
That detail I haven't seen it for a long time.
I understand.
But I want to go back to the pressure diagram. The pressure diagram that's used for the tied back soldier pile is incorrect. The shape of the soldier pile is a combination trapezoid or slope with a straight down. You come down and you'd use 20, in most cases, you come down at an angle at 2/10 H, and then you go straight down and you design for 25 H. Then you show your failure plane H/5 and then up at 60 degrees. And then that defines your unbonded length.
Yeah, unbonded length is the length is the constraint plane.
Other than that, I have another question on detail 5. You intend to use those drill pier as your shoe key. That's why you tie those rebars into your footing. Is that the intention? Detail 5.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Detail 5, SX4.
Yes,
You intend to use those soldier beam pole as your key, right?
as a reinforcement
That's why
for
you
the,
tie it, so that's why for sliding.
yes,
That's my question. That's a question.
yes, of course.
Okay.
The answer is he's giving you yes.
Other than that, now you have total 16 tiebacks. You expect some failure tie will never meet the test. You test 125% design load.
Yes.
What if there's a tie fail? What kind of provision you give to the contractor to do? What kind of instruction you tell him? To make up a new tie?
They'll have to re-drill the tie, yes.
Yeah, you don't have provision for that. No, you don't have instruction for that.
Okay, we can add that instruction.
Well, I think you also number the tiebacks.
Well, the tieback, no matter how you calculate, how you design it, if the contractor doesn't ground it right, they just pull right out. So it's up to the contractor to do the work. You design in paper doesn't work. What design friction, what kind of skin friction you provide doesn't mean a thing.
But that's why I think you need to put in a post-grout pipe.
Usually, always a 5% of tile failure in every job I see. You have total 16 ties. You expect at least one tie fail. Let's assume.
I think we have 13 ties, but I could be wrong.
You have 16.
7, 8, 9,
You have 2 tiers on 3.
Well, we have 5 on the bottom, 2 in the middle, and 6 on top.
Yes, I told you 16 ties. Well, it doesn't matter. But we're talking about if one tie fail, how you tell the contractor what to do.
Well, we don't have any specific instructions, but they will have to re-drill it, and we can add those instructions.
I count. I guess I count 13, John. I guess.
Well, I guess that's what I can see now. That's why besides, I don't see any I have not received any shoring calculation. So just doesn't matter because the parameter are going to change. The design parameter has to be changed.
Well, I agree with you, John. I totally agree. But I guess I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I count 13 tiebacks.
No, 16. 1 or 2 or 3 of them are double tie.
Oh, what row?
Vertically. Yeah.
Total 16 ties.
What line? What grid line?
There are 2 ties on grid line B00.
Yeah, quite a bit. 17 feet high retaining.
Yes. That's the tall wall that we have that's 14 feet high.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you're using a new parameter. They change the design, everything.
May I ask what the action item is on the question of the tieback? Ben?
Yes, so there's a couple of, there's gonna be a lot of, but right now, what we're talking, first action item is number each of the drill pier locations and tieback locations.
Okay.
Number two, reevaluate the pressure diagram presented on SH3. As shown, it applies to a cantilevered wall, not to a tieback wall.
But we add here pressure for tieback situation, like a vertical pressure. So we have combination of cantilever and continuous pressure for tieback situation.
Yeah, but once you put the tieback in, it becomes a restraint locked load. So that's why the typical tieback diagram looks like a triangle down to with about 2/10 H, and then from that down, it's a vertical line, and and equivalent to a value such as 25 H. So it'd be a
Yeah. So I use combination of cantilever and continuous like pressure.
Yeah.
10 H.
Yeah. Yes. You come down 2/10 H at a triangle, and then you go down straight vertical. And the value that you use for the abscissa for this type of rock is on the order of something like 25 H. And then when you compute the unbonded length, you come
Well, actually, I just use some of this. I use cantilever and I use plus 25/8 continuous over the whole height.
Well, I think the geotechnical engineer had to agree on that. That's the only thing we look into.
I don't agree with the way.
Yeah, so basically, it's pretty conservative. I consider
you use 30 PCF plus 10 H.
Plus 25 whatever height.
No, that's not what it says on the diagram. That's not what it says on 1SH3, tieback design parameters, drained. That's not what it says.
It's actually like tieback, it's only a show 2,600 for rock and soil. But for model, something of this kind, where I use cantilever, and then I use plus continuous.
What did you use for the plus?
I mean, at any point, it's a sum of these two.
What was the plus value? What did you use for the vertical?
10H.
No, but the 10H, that is
10 of height, PCF. So pretty much if we have 15 feet, we have 150. And I add this, actually I started from 0, 150 to the bottom 150. And I add to this cantilever and the top of 0 and the bottom it's like a 30H. So it's actually like combination.
Well, will you do me a favor? Check it against, if you use triangular down to a depth of 2H and then 25H to the bottom. Check it against that.
So basically, for example, if it's depth 10, so we have pressure 300, it's a cantilever component, and we have 100, it's a 100, it's a continuous component. But cantilever, it's a half, so it's almost equal. Cantilever and
that's fine. But I would like you to present the city with a. Can you see this diagram?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I will. Actually, in the calculations, I have Frank. in calculation, we have something of this kind. Maybe I can show. In the calculation, we have actually graph deflection, slope, moment.
Yeah, no, I've seen those. I looked at those, but yes.
Oh, actually, friend, probably you have in mind something of this kind.
Yeah, but I'm saying it looks like this. You're saying, I'm asking you, is what you've shown there equal to this?
Yeah, it is this graph, and I have this for each single file.
But if for a 12-foot high wall, the value would be 300.
Yeah, for 12 feet high wall, I have
what is the bottom value?
Pressure. Yeah,
Yeah.
Just give me 1 minute. So let's say 12 feet. We have we have 12 by 30 and divided by 2, so we have 360. We have 360 triangular, and we have 120 continuous. So something of this kind. May I show?
I can't see that, but
Get closer. Get closer.
Frank, I tell you what, usually we
Lower.
have a geotechnical engineer set up the parameter. Apparently, Alex used his own design criteria, his own parameter. One engineer do 2 jobs. So it's up to you to decide whether you agree the diagram or not agree the diagram. You could argue all day.
well, I don't agree with the diagram. Unless you can show me.
So it's up to the city would accept that.
Unless you can show equivalency, I guess.
Actually, it's pretty conservative. And I feel it's more conservative than just vertical, because usually
Get
people
closer.
use.
I understand we're all conservative, but they're just a
Lower.
safety.
Yeah, it's not. Maybe instead of me, you can
Structural
see
calcs
this.
to the screen.
Now, keep that in mind. He's the engineer on record. He become his own geotechnical engineer parameter designer. So who should we argue? Would the city accept this arrangement?
I had to jump in this way. The geotechnical engineer is supposed to provide the recommendations for all design related to the soil condition on the site. So if whoever it is providing the design criteria, they become swearing the head of the geotechnical engineer. And it has to be explicitly shown as far as that is concerned.
Okay, so your letter on SH0, you need to specifically state that you believe that the design values are consistent with the subsurface conditions, and that the design values are consistent, and that they've been applied properly in the design of the walls. And then you have to put your geotechnical stamp on it. Right now, your letter only approves the shoring, not the calculations.
The revised letter was provided in the plan. Probably you don't have it in front of you because it was just done a couple of days ago and uploaded to DBI site.
Okay. Well, I would like you to just see if they're, I guess all I'm asking, Alex, is please see if they're equivalent. Does your diagram apply the pressure at the same point that the
Trapezoidal.
triangular distribution of 25H would do?
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
Please. Okay. And
Yes,
if you're
Chairman.
comfortable with, if you're satisfied with that, as Willie pointed out and as John pointed out, you're the geotech of record. I would like you to put the shoring drawings up. John, do you have any more questions on the shoring?
I just want to point out one thing on the shoring. Essentially, the soldier piles should work up to a specific height. So when it's above that height, to minimize the weight of the steel and minimize the very difficult drilling, we've added the tiebacks. Tiebacks are just added item. We don't rely on tiebacks. We rely mostly on soldier piles for shoring.
But you're gonna have to show your calculations. I'm not here to check your calcs. I'm just checking the design parameters. DVI will do a thorough job of that. I would like to walk through your drawings. So, Troy, if you would put the shoring drawings up, and we'll start with SHO0.
Okay, can you see that?
Yeah, the letter that I have is dated, April 28th, 2021. Do you have a different letter?
Yes, it's August 10th, 2021 on
That
the
came
current
a
set.
couple days ago, and I added it to the folder. Frank, it was too late to get you the printed copy, but it is in the shared drive folder.
Okay,
Chairman Rollo.
Yeah.
This is Willie. I have to discount everything they put in without noticing us and without noticing the public. Those
Right.
items should not, and I've mentioned it before, it should not be included in the common file because that is for all publics to review. So procedure-wise, those documents should not have been there. If there is anything after the initial announcement that is going to be updated, it has to be presented during this meeting rather than being in that, the common files that we are announcing the SAC review meetings on. And this is a serious problem that you start changing stuff in that Dropbox, and it is prohibited to do that.
Right, I'm with you, Willie. Right now, I am dealing with, and I gave the date of the drawings, Troy, and that's the drawings that we're talking about. So we're talking about drawings that are dated April 24th, 2021. Whatever you have that's modified, it does not apply to the minutes. It will
Okay.
become part of your response to action items.
Understood.
Okay, okay. So the drawing is dated, the drawings are dated April 24th, 2021. The letter is dated April 28th, 2021. Amazing how you did that. But the letter does not cover the fact of whether the geotechnical engineer reviewed the design parameters used to design the foundations, the shoring system, the tieback system, and retaining wall system. It does not, the letter does not state that. Okay, so that, okay. And then will you go to drawing SH05? Somewhere on these drawings, there has to be a testing procedure for the tiebacks. Do you load them in 10% increments, 20% increments? Are they proof tested? Are they performance tested? What's the lock off? What's the allowable deflection that will be allowed? There has to be a procedure for tieback testing, and it's not present.
Okay, we'll add that.
SH1. This drawing shows on the shoring diagram 2 SH1. It shows a gravel backfill behind line D. You've just.
Yes,
created a
for the
bath-
driveway,
Pardon?
for the driveway,
Yeah,
upper
well, you've
portion.
just created a bathtub.
Yeah.
You've now allowed that. That's a big drain filled with gravel, and it's acting as a bathtub. Now, unless you've designed a pipe outlet that can handle the water that would come from that bathtub, I strongly encourage you to reconsider a gravel backfill and go to a sub drain behind the wall and then a compacted fill behind that.
Well, there is a sub drain and as well as below the surface drainage, there is a number of pipes in that area.
Yeah, but they don't show up anywhere. So we'll get to that. Right now, what I'm looking at is a gravel backfill that's gonna act as a bathtub. And that's, unless you wanna waterproof that wall, design it for hydrostatic, you have to demonstrate that you can empty that bathtub so that it's a drain condition at all times.
Yes, it shows on DC2 drainage plan.
Yeah,
Clearly.
okay, but DC2 doesn't, I'm looking at DC2, and we'll
Yes.
get to that. DC2 shows, I'm not sure what is the detail for that gravel blanket. Where is it shown? You're gonna use a dry board, again, you're gonna use a dry board, drain board receptor to drain backfill. And it's what, 6 feet deep?
No, it's not 6 feet. It's approximately 3 feet deep.
Well, if you can demonstrate that you can handle any drainage coming off of that, I'm happy with it. But check that, please. Would you go to SH2? SH2, John has indicated, we'd like to see the soldier piles numbered and the tiebacks numbered. And if you go over to the pile schedule, the pile schedule says that SP1s and SP2s are 24 inches diameter and that the drill depth is 10 feet. How can that be?
Well, we're taking the
gotta be-
depth from the base of excavation point at any given soldier pile.
I thank you, and I appreciate that, but that's not what it says. This is depth below excavation,
Yes.
so please say that.
I already have it in my change plans. Probably. I know, but it's already done.
Okay, thank you. Well, those change plans don't exist right now, as far.
I know. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Go to SH3. SH3 shows the pressure diagram. We've had enough discussion on that.
Yeah, Igor is gonna double check and provide it, and just so you're aware, Igor or Gary is part of the shoring design team. He was very much participating in it, so obviously he is on board with it, but we'll double check all the parameters and provide what you need.
Thank you. SH4, again, I'd like to see a reevaluate your tieback to pile typical detail, show more detail on the tieback itself. You both
Right,
pointed out-
we'll provide a new detail with side ears, most likely just in case on the right and the left of the soldier pile, just in case if we have a failure. And that will be easier for us to do anyway.
Well, you're gonna call out the fact that it's an 8-inch hole when you've done that in detail 4.
Yes,
You're gonna call out the grout strength, and you're gonna put in a grout tube, post tension grout tube, so in case it doesn't come up and you have to post grout.
yes, well, we'll do
It'll
that.
show all that. Okay, it says, under the sequence of construction, it says install soldier pile, leave 5 foot extended as shown. Where does it show that?
Well, on the soldier piles in detail 1,
Soldier piles in detail 1. I got it. Where's the 5? Okay, I guess I'm not. Where's the extended? Oh, I see. Got it. Yeah, I see it. Thank you. All right. The SH5 is a braced wall. Here again,
hold on, let me turn the page. Okay, SH5, yes?
it's a braced wall. So that wall is designed for 30 PCF. I'm sorry. It seems to me that you've got two conditions. You've got 9 feet of soil. How are you considering? I assume the soil is a higher.
Well, there are two different conditions here. There's 2 lines. There's expected bedrock and there is substantial soil. The upper 3 feet or 4 feet are what is considered a loose soil. Below that, we have a very hard clay. And below that, we have a very hard bedrock.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you must be looking at a different geotechnical report. I'm looking at the only tests were done for SPT, I'm sorry, dynamic cone. And if I look at the dynamic cone, you classify it as a medium sand. And then I don't see any clay. And it goes on, and then on boring 2, it's sandy soil, poorly graded with bedrock debris. On boring 3, it's a sandy soil with bedrock debris. There's no distinction between whether it's slope debris or fill. So you do not, based on the boring data, have any hard clay. So I'm asking again, when your boring showed that you have up to 9 feet of soil, where are you showing the difference between the rock and the soil? There's no condition here for that. You show a 45, a 30, and a 10. And that applies to rock. So I question, again, the lateral pressure diagram.
Okay.
And then on SH 5.5, you show that gravel again, and you believe that that's shallow. I would like you to, and then on SH6, on SH6, you're calling out the ground surface. It would be helpful if on that diagram you plot based on your borings the 5 to 9 feet of soil, so you can see what I'm talking about as far as whether the soldier pile lagging and the tieback should be designed for soil condition. I'd like to see a profile on SH6.
Right.
I've drawn it on SH. I've drawn it for myself on SH7, and so that we are on the same page. If you go to SH7, that gravel is 8 feet thick.
Yep.
Not 4 feet thick. And so again, I refer to the
on
fact
top or on the bottom?
At the bottom. You've got. I love it.
On the bottom, I have bedrock at about 13 foot deep.
All I'm asking is just please look at, if you plot the ground surface is at 606, the rock is at that location is at about 7 from that is 565 699. That entire gravel backfill is sitting in soil. None of it is sitting in rock. That soil is going to get saturated. That soil creates a problem for you if you don't have adequate drainage.
Right, I agree. That's why on that sheet I show benching.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Troy, can you maximize the screen, please? Maximize
The window.
the PDF, yes.
And let me see if I can do that. Sorry, wrong way. Is that?
See, the front part, the upper part, the benching is actually not the existing grade. The benching adds the height of that gravel, approximately 2 feet.
Yes.
Could you click the square next to the X, please?
Square next to what?
Top right of the window, of the PDF window. Just maximize it.
Have I not? Give me 1 second to figure out how to do that.
Gentlemen, I'll be right back. Needs a bathroom break real quick, sorry.
Sure, but my point on that is you key to fill into loose backfill. That fill should be keyed into rock. That fill, in my opinion, should not be gravel, which is acting as basically a seepage. You're going to allow that area to act as a bathtub and fill with water.
And actually, Frank, this is John, that's not even native soil up there. That's road fill that was cast over, and it's even looser and worse shape than the actual in-place soil.
Thank you. You strengthened my argument. You got to key that into rock, yeah. Put it in as a compacted fill.
So the main point here is that either the gravel backfill needs to be reevaluated, or the drainage system needs to be able to handle that volume of water. Is that?
No, I'm suggesting the gravel acts as a bathtub, and you're not going to be able to show me a calculation that shows it draining quick enough, especially when you're using a drainage panel. Second, you've got the gravel blanket keyed into loose to medium depth material that hasn't been distinguished between fill or slope wash. But as John pointed out, it's the when they did a cut to fill for the road, that's all dumped to fill. That should be keyed. If anything, you would put a drain on the backside. You'd put a key in the back, drain in the backside, so that you collect the water before it gets in here and gets carried away.
Well, the only reason for this, Frank, the only reason for that gravel is for the garage entry. There was a suggestion to leave it void, which is fine, but it's not going to be better for the building. So any kind of a drainage underneath in the gravel is more acceptable, even if we have to put more pipe in there or design more pipe. It's better than just a void.
Well, that's the last thing I would suggest is a void. All I'm saying is place it as a compacted fill keyed into the bedrock.
Yes, but gravel doesn't require compaction. That was the contention.
Okay. Then if you're going to use gravel, then you're going to have to do two things. Demonstrate that it drains quickly to the collection point, and you've got to wrap that gravel in filter fabric, because
yes, but Frank, you're forgetting there's a huge slab encapsulating the whole thing. Are we saying that slab will leak through?
No, I'm saying that water will come from the uphill, permeate from the cut into the fill that you're not taking out, and it's going to go through the fill. It'll carry the fines with it, and it'll go into the gravel, and you then now created a potential settlement problem in the road. You've changed the permeability characteristics of the material that's in there, and it may not drain. I'm giving you all the issues that arise doing it in the manner that you're suggesting. And if you wish to do it, treat it as a burrito and wrap it in a filter fabric.
No problem. Yeah. We have filter fabric on all drain pipes, but we can add more drain lines in there. And there is a trough line drain running through the entire area.
This is okay. So now if you would kindly go to the drainage plan. And I guess it's DC2 is the subdrain plan, right?
Well, there's a DC1.
That's a surface drain.
Well, yes, and the area that you were referring to, for example, for that fill, shows 2 line drains up on the surface.
Yeah, but that's a surface drain. I'm talking about a subdrain. And that's
Yeah.
on DC. Show me on DC2 how that subdrain behind that gravel works, and then show me where are the cleanouts in this subdrain for all these wall drains. And 3, you talk about a pipe, yet you're calling out on the plans, on the section, you call out a drain board receptor, a drain board against flagging. You don't show a pipe. You show a pipe coming into the inside, but you don't have, all you're using is drainage panel behind the wall.
Yeah, so if there is any water behind that gravel, it will drain through the drain board, through into the pipe. Exactly.
Well, you've got, what did I say, 8 feet of gravel sitting on loose soil that should be keyed into rock. Well, you need to show me provide a better detail of what you're doing behind that gravel.
Well, that's fine. I think what you're referring to is there should be a couple of extra pipes, perforated pipes on the other side between the wall and the driveway. I think that's what you're referring to.
I'm asking that you provide proper drainage for a gravel backfill.
No problem.
Provide appropriate filter fabric to prevent infiltration of fines and piping behind the gravel blanket. That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
John, you're on for the structural. As we understand it, you've got a pile supported mat. Is that correct?
Tony, are you there?
Yeah. Me?
Tony.
Yeah, structural drawings.
What?
John, do you have any questions about the structural drawings?
Oh, no, I don't have any question. The building itself is adequate. But
Is it fair to assume that this is a pile supported mat foundation? Or is it a combination of mat on rock and pile supported mat on rock?
yeah, like I said, he indicated he used the soldier beam toe as the key for sliding.
Oh, okay. But it's a mat on rock, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
The mat, if you plot the geologic cross-section on the structural plans, the mat is sitting, especially the basement, is sitting mostly on soil. And so the basement is what looks to be a mixed foundation condition. So my question is that slab meant to span that soil, or do you need more internal piers to support that slab, since it looks like, especially the upper levels are all on fill or soil, sorry.
You're right. That's exactly right. So if you go to the profile.
Well, we have 18-inch concrete mat slab.
S12 is the one, Frank.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, that's the one. Yeah, I plotted the same. I plotted the same fill line, and this mat, some of it sits on fill, some of it sits on rock, some of it sits on drill piers.
Yeah, there's some internal piers, but it wasn't clear to me that slab was designed to be pier supported or span the soil, or if you even knew that it was not going to be on rock. So that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got that. I've got the same point, because if you look between column lines A and B, and if you plot the fill, that slab sits on fill. If you look between column lines B2 and C0, that slab sits on fill.
Yes, but that slab is supported by approximately 20 piers at the same time.
Right, so we need to know which of these slabs, well, but the basement one is, it spans the whole thing. We need to know which mat is being pile supported and which mat is relying on rock. Right now, you have a system that sits on drill piers, on rock, and a combination of drill piers, fill, and rock. And I don't think that was your intent. I think your intent is to either put it all on drill pier or put it all on rock.
Well, it's a combination. The intent was to use the piers as embedment, and we have approximately 20 of them. And it works in combination with 18-inch thick concrete slab.
But that 18-inch concrete slab should be sitting on rock.
Or designed to span whatever distance. And it looked like the spans were huge to me, but I'm not a structural engineer.
No, it's only approximately 28 feet. It's not that huge.
Well, the question is an 18-inch slab span? I don't know. I've always, what we're trying to say, we don't understand as it's currently drawn. For example, if you look at, if the ground line is plotted correctly, if you look at the basement between A and B, that entire slab sitting on fill. True, it spans, it goes between two drilled piers. It's 18 inches thick. But was it your intent that slab sit on rock, or is it your intent that it span from pier to pier?
Well, the intent is it's sitting on a substantial soil. It doesn't have to be bedrock.
Your report says hard bedrock. All slabs to be supported on hard bedrock.
Or underlayment underneath it.
What's that?
Or 12-inch structural fill underneath it.
No, but the fill's sitting on rock.
Yeah, no, that's not what your report says.
That's right. Gentlemen, we'd like you to look at that again, because
Okay, well, we can clarify it, but
your report, and I know that the projects that are up there that have been built either are on drill piers or sit on rock.
Yeah.
Or the slab is designed to span. Now, if you've got calculations that show between A and B, that entire slab can span, and Willie checks it and it's fine, I'm happy. Or not Willie, or Steve, or Jane.
why don't John, maybe you can check if Tony can get through, because it looks like he was blocked. Can somebody check on that? The structural engineer?
Well, I don't see he has and a mic, well, he has a headphone on, so I'm not sure if he's listening or not. But he's definitely on the attendance list.
Well, yeah, the Tony was the guy on the phone who couldn't get through, but we could hear him fine. He can hear us, but he can't get through for some reason. He's trying to say something, but he can't get through.
Are you talking to me?
No, John.
You hear me?
Yes.
Who's trying to speak?
Tony was trying to speak. 650 area code.
650?
Yeah.
Is that Antonio Samra?
Antoine. Okay. Antoine does not have a mic.
Yeah, he was speaking in the beginning of our meeting. We heard him. But
I
now
thought he's calling in on the phone.
yes.
Hello.
Try to unmute that accordion right
Try
next
that.
to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Please try speaking.
Hi, Tony.
Can
that
anybody
Antoine?
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Finally, okay, I'm through. So basically, the mat foundation, the answer is the foundation at the lowest level. It's a mat foundation. We designed it as a mat foundation.
Okay.
It's not sitting on bedrock.
It's not sitting on bedrock, it's sitting on soil.
It's sitting on soil with spring K values.
What?
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 On spring K
What
values.
K values did you use? Is it on rock or is it on?
No, it's not on rock. We did not design it on rock. It is on soil, and we use the K value. I don't have it in front of me, but that's how we designed it, as a mat foundation.
Well, you need to show me how you arrived at the K value for an uncompacted fill for a loose slope wash where you have no laboratory testing and all you're relying on is DCPT test, number one.
Okay, I'll talk to the soil engineer and we'll get it to you, no problem.
Yeah, and then also, wow. And then I'd like the soil engineer to predict how much settlement you get from an uncompacted fill. And also, if you look at the last, Troy, would you kindly put on the screen the last sheet of the structural plans? It doesn't have a date. All it is, it shows a profile.
I'm sorry, you're talking to me?
No, Troy.
To the soil?
Yeah, let me just pull up. Do you have a sheet number? You want S17? Is that what you're saying?
It's the one after S17.
That's the last one.
No, there's a sheet attached after S17 that has a profile on it.
Give me 1 second here. It's taking a minute to load.
And I'd like to know where you got those properties, that profile.
I don't have anything after.
John, do you have it?
Sheet 17 is the last one on my list.
Oh, no, there's a drawing.
Yeah, that's the last one.
There's a drawing that comes after that was created by ADEP. There's no date on it, no number on it. It shows a cross section through the center of the site, and it's actually done for lot. It's actually done for 131. But
Yeah, that's a geologic cross section that ADEP put together. It's through 131.
Right.
Edgehill.
Let me see if I can pull that
But
up.
it's attached to 129.
Yeah, I use that to plot exactly what we were just talking about. So I suggest you guys do the same thing. And you have to rectify the fact that the geotechnical engineer clearly recommends on page 18 that the mat foundation bear on hard bedrock materials.
Okay, we can resolve it offline. It's not a problem.
Well, unfortunately, it is because it's going to require that we have a second meeting. And I was hoping to get through this thing with one meeting. That ain't going to happen.
Okay, we can add piers and make it mat foundation supported on piers.
Well, I think I would like you to, we raised a lot of questions between John and myself. And Troy, we made it difficult for you because you're not going to really know what's an action item and what isn't. But there are a lot of stuff's been thrown out here today.
Well, I believe if I can introduce is that the mat foundation sitting on bedrock could be just a oversight, easily corrected. Igor, can you step in here and say something?
Yeah, the whole building will sit on the piers or or on a bedrock. In other cases, it will be like deformation, differential deformation. The area in question, yeah, it should see it. When we do excavation, it will be bedrock or piers, yeah. So,
Okay.
and
So can we state very clearly that this residential structure will be supported on either drilled piers or a mat foundation resting on rock, or a mat foundation capable of spanning between drilled piers?
Are you talking about the lowest level?
I'm talking about the entire structure, because the same thing applies further up on C0. I think I called it out on C0. You have the same situation at C0.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
spanning?
we have it on 2 upper levels, yes.
We want to know, we want to call it out whether this mat is spanning between piers, the mat is resting entirely on rock, or the mat is resting on rock and gaining support from drill piers.
Okay.
We don't want to see a mat sitting on soil. That's not what the geotech recommends.
Okay, so the only item in question is shown on sheet S1. That's the bottom slab, the basement slab. That's the one in question.
No, it's not.
No, he's talking about the other upper levels
I don't
too.
mean to correct you, but if you go to drawing, if you go to sheet number
12.
If you look at, if you plot between B and B2, that slab as it fits is entirely on soil. If you look between B2 and C0, it looks like half of it, it looks like that one might be spanning between soldier pile. If you look at between C0 and D, that's sitting on soil or in the air.
Well, no, it's sitting on top of piers on top of retaining wall.
Not, okay, so it's spanning all the way from line C0 back to D.
Yes.
Correct.
Well,
And the same applies for line B2. That spans all the way down to the retaining wall into the piers. So
Okay,
the only
correct.
item
Okay.
in question is on sheet S1. That's how it's referring to. And if we need to add
Yeah.
some middle piers, so
Okay.
it spans between the piers, Tony will do calculation and we can add some middle piers.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, and
So-
so do you want to do the same thing for the upper levels?
I don't think you have anything on upper level because your line B00 is sitting on retaining wall, which in fact sits on the piers.
Correct.
Yeah, as long as you can span those distances and demonstrate that, that's fine.
Well,
So,
let's say 16-inch slab will span that distance.
Yeah, well, you have to demonstrate that to DBI.
No problem.
All we know is.
No
that-
problem. Yeah.
All we're saying is that you either span between the piers or you sit on rock.
Okay, agreed.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. I'd like to go back to the drainage. Because of the amount of elevation changes and all, I think it'd be in the project's best interest.
1 second, Frank.
Pardon?
1 second. Leon, can you mute yourself?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to see more cleanouts where the drains make turns. And I'd like to look more closely at, well, you're using a drainage, basically drainage panels and you're gonna look at the use of the drain, look at the gravel area. And you show, yeah, provide, show how the temple behind the wall, are you planning to slope in two directions?
Yes.
Well, call it out, how does the contractor know? Call it out, how you propose to put a crick in the drain, and it flows in two directions. Either
Okay,
the north,
well,
the south, east or the west.
that's fine. I have arrows on DC1. I want arrows on DC2 as well.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, we can open it up to, if there's no questions, any more comments, open it up to the public that if they wish to ask any questions about the design or any aspect of the Slope Protection Act requirements. Not hearing of any. Willie, do you have anyone reporting that they'd like to speak?
I have a question, Chairman Rolo.
Yes.
Is that on the drawing drawings, apparently there is some drill piers that happens to be crossing the property lines in the street front.
Not that I know of, no.
If you look at the plan sheet, the first page of the plan sheet on the, I think it's probably SH1.
Well, SH 0.5, we are approximately 9 feet away from the property.
Which drawing? SH what?
Well, it shows on drawing SH 0.5, it also shows on drawing SH2.
SH 5.5 shows that you're away, you're not near the property line.
Yeah.
But that's up at the street. What about at the other end? Oh, you're way up the slope on the other side.
And Leon, unmute. Or
I'm
mute
here.
yourself.
No, and I don't know what's going on, but sometimes it's, but I am checking, and if you will ask me, I will unmute. But now I am okay. I'm fine.
Leon, can you turn down the volume?
Maybe volume, yeah. Okay, let's go with volume. Okay. Speaker, maybe.
Can you, Janie, can you,
Yeah, I've been muting him, but he's been unmuting himself.
okay, can you put the presentation to my screen?
Yes.
Let's see.
Okay.
That work?
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
let me see. I've got to find my share.
Yeah, no, it's not so noisy. Thank you for your help.
Into here. Can you see my screen here?
Yes.
Leon, I'm gonna have to mute you because we keep hearing everybody else's echo.
See
If you need to
this,
speak, raise your hand,
Okay.
please.
see this row of soldier piles?
You mean on the upper Edgehill?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's this row here that got 4, 5.
Yes.
And you should receive that inside your property line.
Either that or they will have to get the easement.
Yeah, well, you have to check with DPW to see if it allow you to have that encroachment.
Well, the 127 Edgehill had the same situation and it was no problem.
Well, you got an encroachment from DPW?
Well, there's no sidewalk there right now. There needs to be a sidewalk. The improvements that are here are not actually shown.
So you intend to encroach, is that correct? I just,
With the piers, there are 4 piers that will encroach into the property line.
yeah, so if you intend to encroach, then it has to be provided with encroachment permits from the DPW.
No problem.
Okay. Now, at the edge of this gravel bed that you are including, you show that right at the property line, up to the property line. So basically, are you backfilling above your adjacent properties retaining wall?
Yes.
Okay, so is there retaining structures along this side here?
Yes, there
Self-contained,
is existing retaining wall structure that is there right now.
which belongs to the adjacent neighbor?
Yes, well, which was built by the same contractor, so we're aware how it was built.
Yeah, I hear you. Same contractor doesn't mean it's the same ownership.
Yeah, well, now it's a different ownership, but yes.
Well, you need to show that that wall can carry the surcharge from that added load.
No problem. If necessary, we can add our own wall, wing wall in that corner.
Yeah, well, that has to be addressed. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So back to you, Chairman Rollo.
Thank you. So at this point, not having any public comments, I'm closing the meeting to the public and to the applicant, and this is a discussion now of with the SAC only. We've had we have had many comments, and what I sense are many questions and many action items. It was my hope that we might be able to deal with this property with one meeting on the basis of what the exchanges that have gone on and the issues that have been raised. I don't believe that that's practical. And I'm the opinion that the applicant should go back and first of all, prepare minutes that can be sent to the SAC and to DBI for its review. And then including those minutes, action items that we can add to or agree to, and then prepare responses to all the action items, which will mean addendums to the reports, changes to the plans. And then I believe that we will need another meeting to go through the action items only and the responses to those action items. I'd love to hear from the rest of you guys if you share my views. Not, what do you believe is more an appropriate way to proceed?
Well, as I see it from geotechnical and shoring.
No, I'm sorry, Alex. This is closed
Oh,
to the
okay.
applicant. This is
Okay.
just the SAC now. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Goodbye.
No, I agree, Frank. This is John Wallace.
Harvey?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, for support.
Can you hear me now?
Good job. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It seems clear to me we can't wrap it up with one meeting.
Okay. John Hom, what's your view?
Yes,
Do we need another meeting, John?
yeah.
Okay. Well, it's unanimous, Troy, that we need another meeting. I guess, so let's proceed on that assumption. Willie, is it acceptable for Troy to chat with me about the minutes? Because it's already public and all we're doing is discussing what's already been discussed in public to make sure that we submit it properly. Is it acceptable for Troy to communicate with me? And if he has questions that I can't answer, I can then at least get the answer from John Wallace or from other SAC members. Will you allow me that freedom?
I don't think there is a problem with that, because we are just trying to get the record straight regarding reviewing of the drafting of the SAC review meeting minutes. Now, my suggestion is that Troy is going to come up with the meeting minutes in in the best he could, and we have the SAC members to wait in to as a review. I think the conversation could happen that way, but this is regarding the public record as it was presented.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Willie. John Wallace, would you forward a copy of your letter to the SAC members? It will assume that it went to us the same time it went to Willie so that he could put it in the public document file.
I'll send it over right now.
Yeah, PDF us a copy of your letter.
Yep.
And I appreciate you for doing that. Troy, maybe let's give ourselves a couple of days to rest, and then maybe Monday or so we can talk about this. And because the letter is going into the public document, John, I am going to forward a copy of it to Troy also, since he's preparing the minutes. Okay, Troy, with that?
That's fine. Question for Willie. I know this meeting is being recorded. Can you or your staff communicate with me how to view that recording? So I've taken notes, but obviously there were points that were technical that maybe I didn't fully capture, that it would be helpful to just be able to review that while I prepare the notes.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely.
Yeah, when I think WebEx is going to send a copy when it is available, so I may be able to share it with you. And we have not been posting up on the website except the meeting minutes, but that's something we may be able to do. So I'm going to have that sent to you and probably post up on the website.
Okay, let me know. Yeah, hopefully that is doesn't take a long time to post, right? I don't know what the procedure is from what.
Yeah, well, posting is not a big problem, but I think it's important that I get a copy from emails from WebEx, then I may be able to share with you.
Thank you.
You know, Willie, many of the same documents that are used that were applicable to 129 are being applied to 131. I guess I don't know if this is the right forum. Yeah, this is a public meeting and they're right next to each other. And the owner's on and everybody, the same team except for Troy, unfortunately. Should we rethink the 131 meeting in light of the fact that many of the issues that we've raised from 129 will probably be applicable in 131?
Well,
John, have you written a similar letter for 131?
Have I?
Yeah.
I'm almost done with it, but I haven't completed my review of that yet.
Okay, but do you see similar issues?
It's a little different in the fact that it looks like a raised wood floor and not a concrete mat slab.
And there's no tiebacks.
Yeah, so the cuts are much less. It's a much easier design, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you're comfortable, John and Harvey, you guys are comfortable if we just go ahead with a 131 meeting? We might be able to do that one in one meeting?
I think so.
Oh, good, okay.
Well, I think it's not the appropriate platforms for that discussions on the merits on. That is not on the agenda.
Roy, don't put that in the minutes, please.
Are you setting a meeting date now or is that?
No, I will give you plenty of time, Troy, to do the minutes, to meet with your team, to get comments from the SAC. And then you can set your meeting. It would be very difficult to set a meeting right now.
And does that second meeting also require public notification?
Pardon?
Does the second meeting also require the mailing notification?
Oh, yeah, everything. Well, let me put it this way. I leave it to your judgment. You tell me how much time you believe you'll need to prepare the minutes, transcribe the minute, the meeting, meet with your team, get the changes made, and propose a date. And you know, we're really flexible from a SAC standpoint because the meeting is going to take 14 days after you're finished.
Okay, I will coordinate with the group.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be within a matter of weeks and not months, you know, a few weeks.
To get everything done.
I assume, unless there was any sort of laboratory, like, I don't know, there was discussion about soil values and that kind of thing. So if there's,
Well, I think we got rid of the K value.
okay.
Because it's all going on rock. Okay, if there's no other discussion or matters to discuss with the SAC, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Who'd like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'm second.
The motion was made by John Wallace and seconded by John Hall.
Hold on, Chairman Rollo. I think you might have to wrap up the motions before adjournments for the next things to do, so we can all add up into the motion.
Okay, so the SAC has agreed that one more evaluation by the applicant's design team is required to specifically address soldier pile shoring design, tieback design, and foundation design and support. The SAC also believes that the geotechnical report should be reviewed in the context of the materials present and appropriate modifications be made to the recommendations or modifications be made where appropriate. The SAC also believes that a second meeting is required to properly address the responses to the action items that have been called out during the course of the meeting. With that said, the applicant will meet with its team and present a timeline for when the minutes will be ready for review and when the responses to the action items will be available. Have I captured it, guys?
Sounds good.
Okay, with that said, then I believe with the understanding of the above, the motion to adjourn and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Well, I thank everyone for their patience and understanding. These sites on Edgehill are the challenging sites and warrant close evaluation. And I'm sure we'll get to the finish line soon. That I'm signing off.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Frank.
you. Thank you.